What's up guys, welcome back to DCA. Today what we're going to do is talk about Ethereum, Q4, the time to accumulate. Before we do that, let's quickly take a look at the DCA index. So right now we're sitting at around 57. It's pretty much where we've been. So we've just sort of been stagnant right in this 40 to around 57 zone, pretty much dating back to September. And even if you go further back than that, it sort of makes sense, right? We're in this accumulation zone. Now we have recently broke above and closed our highest single daily close for Ethereum yesterday. Okay. And we said the other day, we've made a few videos about it now actually, that we were watching this pattern because it was playing out identically to the way it did in 2017. So if we take a look here, in 2017, we came down, corrected approximately 67%. From there, we went up and tested the prior all-time high. We got rejected from that. And then we came back around and tried it again. And on the second try, 163 days later, we were able to close above. So let's go take a look at where we're at now. So just like the prior cycle, we corrected. This time around 62%. Recall it was 67% before. We came up and tried to get to this prior all-time high. We're not able to. We got rejected, came back down, and on the second try on our way up, we were able to close above. If you were taking it to the bank that it was going to be 163 days later, exactly like it was on the last time, my apologies. It was 167 days later. It did try, it got above, but wasn't able to close above 163 days later, unfortunately. So, it's just almost uncanny how similar this whole pattern is played out in relation to what it did in 2017. In case you were wondering, in 2017, once it closed above, it went 3x from there. So just something to watch for. Moving on to what I want to talk about today is why Ethereum is so great of an asset to accumulate in Q4. So we're looking at ETH USD on a long-term scale here. We're at the 3-month scale. When you zoom out, this just goes to show you how the daily price history, all that, it's just noise, okay? It's why so many people make mistakes because they don't have a longer term time frame in their their investment strategy doesn't involve these longer term time frames. And guys, this is only 5 or 6 years here. Really successful investors, and the most successful investors, have 10 or 15 year time frames. Nonetheless, just think about it. This is $1 Ethereum, okay? 75 cents Ethereum. Now it's 4,200. So, just keep it all in perspective and, try and think of things like this. Look how much easier this is to manage than this. Okay. This is a mess. It's generally up, but there's these wild ups and these, volatile downward swings. This keeps it in perspective. It's just slow upward movement, just consistent, slow upward movement. Even the downward swings are fairly short. If you can't stand the thought of being down these large amounts for a short amount of time, then crypto can be difficult to navigate. Try and keep it in perspective. Try and consider the big picture. And looking at some of these longer term timeframes, I think really helps to do that. So why I'm showing you this, guys, is I want to talk about the quarterly averages for Ethereum. And so let's move up here. So what I've done here is laid out the average quarterly close from the prior quarter. Okay. So, for instance, in Q1 of 2016, Ethereum USD was up about 1,100%. Q1 2017, 531%, etc. The whole point is to identify which quarters are the best to acquire Ethereum and which quarters are the best to be holding Ethereum. And what this shows you is on average, Q1 is one of the best times to hold Ethereum. Even so, it's approximately 300%. Now, even if you remove this extreme outlier of Q1 2016, it's still 131%. Q2 isn't a bad time to be holding Ethereum either. If you can be acquiring Ethereum prior to Q1 or Q2, historically, you tend to do very well. Now, conversely, Ethereum hasn't done bad in Q3 and Q4 in general, but a lot of that is just due to the 2020 bull run, the start of the 2020 bull run. If you look historically, Q3 and Q4 have not been great for Ethereum. So, all in all, this just goes to show you that if you can be acquiring in Q3 and Q4, historically, you've done all right. Now, that's fine to look at things in terms of Ethereum US dollar. But if you really are thinking about it in a broader sense, you should be thinking about what is your opportunity cost. Okay, what is the opportunity cost of holding Ethereum? So what this shows us is a bit of a different picture. So, we go back 105% in 2020 and 41% in 2021. That sounds great, but it becomes less great when you look at what the cost of owning Ethereum was. And the cost of owning Ethereum was that you weren't holding Bitcoin. If you had $1,000 in Ethereum, you didn't have $1,000 in Bitcoin. And in relation to Bitcoin, and this is the whole point, in relation to Bitcoin, Ethereum has bled 6 out of 7 quarters in Q4. Okay. On the other hand, in Q1, 5 out of 6 quarters, it has been up in relation to Bitcoin. So what that indicates is Bitcoin's already moving in Q4. So you don't want to be acquiring Bitcoin while it's moving up. You want to be acquiring Ethereum during this quarter in preparation for Q1 and potentially Q2. Okay, so again, I've removed the outlier, and Ethereum has on average outperformed Bitcoin in Q1 by 100%. Okay, it's outperformed in Q1 by 100%. In Q2, it's outperformed by 40%. And then it's down to Bitcoin in Q3 and Q4. So this just goes to show in this time period, in Q1, you're probably going to outperform Bitcoin. But on the other hand, in Q4, you're going to bleed versus Bitcoin. And that's because Bitcoin tends to move in Q4, like we're seeing now, right? We are currently down with relation to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin just had a fair correction. And remember, when Bitcoin corrects, that's when the alts start to move a little bit. So we're still expecting more from Bitcoin, and I suspect, it doesn't mean this will definitively happen, but I suspect Ethereum will continue to fall with relation to Bitcoin through the rest of the year. At which time in Q1, Ethereum will probably outperform Bitcoin. So this is, this is the way that I approach the market. I think it's, again, like I always say, it's all about the data. That's all that matters. Your emotions, what you think, what you feel, what I feel, it doesn't matter. The markets don't care about that. The institutions are going to do what they do. They don't care what we think or feel. And that's why coming up with a consistent plan, striving for consistency, is how you become successful in these markets. Consistency leads to a non-emotional state. A non-emotional state leads to not making mistakes. Okay? So that's just some general advice, some things to keep in mind. And then with relation to Ethereum, It just goes to show that when you dive into the numbers, now is the time to start accumulating Ethereum. Okay, so I think that's going to be it for this one, guys. If you guys like this type of content, hit like and subscribe, hit the notification bell. Like I said, head over to the Telegram channel. If you're interested in the DCA index, you can sign up and I'll send it to you there. And until next time, see you.